Your 2-3-4 is more than likely going to be Adley Rutschman, Anthony Santander, and Ryan Mountcastle. The Rangers are throwing 2 lefties. And especially if you are Ryan Mountcastle, you need to make the Rangers pay for that decision. Again, they are trying to minimize guys like Gunnar Henderson and Ryan O'Hearn. Adley Rutschman has been way better from the right side of the plate this year than he was a season ago.
Yes.
So Adley Rutschman batting second from the right side, you feel pretty good about that. We know Anthony Santander tends to have some more pop from the left side of the plate than he does from the right side of the plate. You need Santander to hit well from the right side of the plate if he is batting third, which we assume he is going to do. And then Ryan Mountcastle tweeted out his stats yesterday, but the dude is destroying left-handed pitchers this year. And you need Ryan Mountcastle to continue to do that today.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I mean, he's got to be your guy today. This is a huge series for him, considering how many lefties they have, both in the starting rotation, but also in the bullpen. How many lefties the Orioles are going to see this series, it's just going to be massive for Ryan Mountcastle to come in and make the impact that we know he can against these guys.
Yeah.
Now, like you said, with the rest of that lineup in the 2-3-4 spots, I totally agree with you. Those guys are going to be paramount in terms of importance for the offense today and the rest of this series, because that's the heart of your lineup. And guys like Santander and Adley Rutschman, the switch hitters, those guys are going to have to take advantage of facing a lefty and getting their power numbers up today.
Yeah, Mountcastle hitting .338 with an OPS over 1,000 against left-handed pitching this year.
Unreal.
It's really good.
12 homers.
Behind Mountcastle, the DH spot is going to be interesting because sometimes we have seen James McCann in that DH spot against left-handed pitching, although James McCann would probably be catching with Adley Rutschman DHing. James McCann in the lineup against left-handed pitching more often than not this year. I think, if I had to guess, in terms of the lineup for this afternoon, I would imagine we probably see Aaron Hicks behind Ryan Mountcastle in the 5 spot, with Aaron Hicks fielding in right field, which would bump Anthony Santander to DH out of the 3-hole.
You're likely seeing Westberg as well instead of Adam Frazier. And then maybe do they give... I doubt you see Jorge Mateo, but that probably means Ramon Urias towards the bottom of the lineup as well.
I do think you see Jorge Mateo.
You think Mateo's going to show up?
So if I'm rounding out the rest of this lineup here, after Mountcastle at 4, I would assume it goes Hicks playing right field, batting 5th, Jordan Westberg batting 6th, playing second base. Or, excuse me, maybe Gunnar Henderson batting 5th.
Yeah, they're not going to send him that far down.
No, I think Gunnar Henderson batting 5th, playing third base. Aaron Hicks batting 6th, playing right field. Westberg at 2nd, playing second base. Mullins batting 8th, playing center field. And then after that, I think you see Jorge Mateo at shortstop, batting 9th.
The defense and the speed is something that gets more important. It gets heightened importance when you get to the playoffs because every game is obviously so much more important. So I agree. You could see Jorge Mateo, but I wouldn't be surprised with a Ramon Urias appearance either.
I wouldn't be shocked, but the Orioles have faced left-handed starting pitchers 53 times this season. Jorge Mateo has started in all but 4 of those games.
Yeah.
So I think it could be Mateo.
It makes sense. And I like that lineup a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's really good, and it gears up to have a really great game against a lefty that is prone to both runs, walks, and hits. So I like it.
Biggest key for me in this game, after the middle of the lineup continuing to stay hot, is get to the gosh darn bullpen. We mentioned it off the top. Again, we were not trying to hype up the Rangers here. They are just it is a good lineup. It is a good starting rotation. The place to get to the Texas Rangers is the bullpen. Andrew Heaney cannot be pitching in the 6th inning. That is my one note there. You can't have Andrew Heaney trot out for the 6th. I don't know if he will. Towards the end of the season, Andrew Heaney went from the starting rotation to the bullpen. He wasn't making a ton of starts towards the end of the year. So I'm curious to see how long Andrew Heaney actually goes in this game. Whether he goes only 3 or 4 innings, maybe Dane Dunning piggybacks off of him.
about to say, we thought Dane Dunning was going to start this game What if they go Heaney for like 4, and then they just bring in Dane Dunning, who could start a game?
Very possible.
That would be a smart move from a guy who's won 3 out of 4 World Series in Bruce Bochy.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be a surprise from him, but that would be a really smart move to bring in Dane Dunning after Heaney to avoid having to go to your pen, because he knows a lot better than we do probably that it just ain't that pretty.
Yeah.
That would be a really smart move. So watch out for that to see if Dane Dunning starts warming up in the 4th.
Yeah, I could certainly see that as a possibility. Andrew Heaney maybe tosses 3 innings, and then Dane Dunning piggybacks off of him to try to get to the 6th or 7th.
That would be really smart.
But that's where maybe the Orioles' biggest strength comes into play, and that's the Orioles' depth. Because you could start this game with Jorge Mateo at shortstop, with Jordan Westberg at second base. And let's say the Rangers go to Dane Dunning in the 4th or 5th inning of this ballgame. The Orioles can go, okay, cool. Here's Ryan O'Hearn.
Yeah.
Here's Adam Frazier. The Orioles have the depth to be able to counter whatever move Bruce Bochy is trying to make today. Mm-hmm. If it is Dane Dunning piggybacking off of Andrew Heaney, this is what separates the Orioles from other teams in these playoffs.
Exactly.
Because Dane Dunning can come into this game, and then you have Ryan O'Hearn, who has an OPS over 800 on the Hearn.
Who never fell off.
No.
The whole time. Everyone thought the Ryan O'Hearn bubble would pop. Just never did.
Never did.
The guy was just rock solid the entire time. So credit to him.
So if Dane Dunning comes into this game in the 4th or 5th inning, you can bring in Ryan O'Hearn, who has an OPS over 800 on the year. You can bring in Adam Frazier, who has, again, an OPS close to 700 on the year, but has good splits against right-handed pitching. You could take Jorge Mateo out if you needed to. You could take a DH. You could maneuver that lineup however you needed to maneuver it. But Brandon Hyde has just so many chess pieces in this game that we know Bruce Bochy, again, he is a World Series manager, and a little bit of gamesmanship yesterday with not announcing the starting pitcher until, I think, 7:30.
It was a lot
last
later
night.
than expected, I'll tell you that.
And it
much.
was not a starting pitcher that we expected. We did our preview show on MASN All Access yesterday, and we pretty much talked as if it was Dane Dunning who was going to be starting this game.
He got us, I'll tell you that much.
He did.
And, hey, it was kind of an honor to have gotten got by a World Series winning manager.
We did get got.
Kind of feels like we made it.
But Brandon Hyde, more than I think any team in this playoffs, has just so many chess pieces to work with. And
Yeah.
I am really intrigued to see if Bochy is going to go Heaney Dunning, if he's going to maneuver his bullpen in some interesting ways, because as you mentioned, the numbers aren't great. So he's going to have to maneuver. I'm really interested to see how Brandon Hyde handles his first managerial playoff action with moving his pieces in the right ways to counteract that.
And, like you said, it shouldn't be too difficult of decisions to make because you have Ryan O'Hearn on the bench or Aaron Hicks or whoever he decides not to start. You have all the pieces you need. So at whatever time the lefty comes out, the righty comes in, Mike Elias has built an offense and built a roster in which there are so many pieces for you to go to. And so many guys who a lot of teams gave up on. Yankees gave up on Hicks. Royals gave up on O'Hearn. Both of those guys are starting caliber players for the Orioles that are sitting on their bench.
Yeah. I've got 2 more big keys to this game. First one is on the field, and that is Kyle Bradish setting the tone. The Orioles have an awesome opportunity today because, again, as we mentioned, the Rangers already threw Nathan Eovaldi and Jordan Montgomery. Even if it is Nathan Eovaldi, I still like Kyle Bradish if you're just looking at those 2 guys in a vacuum in terms of who you'd like in this matchup. But just looking at the pitching matchup, I think you got to have a lot of confidence in Kyle Bradish against Andrew Heaney. That is a mismatch statistically.
I agree.
You have Andrew Heaney, who was bumped to the bullpen at the end of the year, and then you have Kyle Bradish, who was consistently one of the best starters in the American League this year. Even after getting off to, I guess a little bit of a slower start for his standard this year, but he was outstanding over the second half of the season. Was legitimately one of the top 5 pitchers in the American League. We're talking about the guy that finished the season with the 3rd best ERA in the AL, fourth best ERA in baseball.
And if Bradish comes out and deals and just throws a gem, that sets the tone for the rest of the rotation. For Grayson Rodriguez in Game 2, and whoever the Orioles might start in Game 3 and 4, whether that's John Means and Dean Kramer, or John Means or Dean Kramer in Game 3, and then you go back to Bradish on short rest or something, whatever it ends up being, that sets the tone and says, guys, we're here. This is the playoffs. Bradish going to go out, and he's going to set that tone.
And Kyle Bradish entering this game with a 16-inning scoreless streak.
Wow,
he's already rolling.
Yeah, love that.
I mean, Kyle Bradish had a shorter outing in his last start because you knew you were here. He's going to be fresh, and he is absolutely rolling. His confidence has to be at an all-time high right now. He was just named the Game 1 starter for the ALDS in just his second full season. 16 consecutive scoreless innings coming into the game. Pretty self-explanatory, but if the Rangers aren't scoring, they're not winning.
Yes. I don't think they win a close game, the Rangers. I don't think the Rangers win a close game.
I have more confidence in the Orioles winning a close game with that bullpen than I do with the Rangers winning a close game.
So, like you said, if Bradish keeps this game close, if he gives the Orioles a chance throughout the entire game, I think it's a really good chance Baltimore comes out with a victory in Game 1. And if you do get that victory in Game 1, you start rolling, the series could wrap up soon.
Bones, any more on-field keys to the game for you here?
For me, it's preserve the Orioles bullpen. If the offense can go out there and just put a few crooked numbers on the board and get this to a point where you don't have to send Yennier Cano out there in a high leverage situation, that is going to be it's going to pay so many dividends going forward. And you don't have to look at, all right, we used Cano twice and we have to look at him for Game 3 or something like that. If you can preserve this bullpen and you don't have to use so many of your high leverage guys, of course, without Felix Bautista, it got a lot harder to manage this bullpen and throw out guys you're confident in. So preserve the bullpen is probably my number one key for this game.
Yeah, and again, a really good opportunity to do just that. With your ace on the mound, can Kyle Bradish give you 6 innings of 1 or 2 run baseball? That puts you in a really good spot, again, especially against Andrew Heaney, who is not one of the Rangers' top starters here. A good opportunity for the Orioles pitching staff, a great opportunity for the Orioles lineup. My final key to this game is not an on-the-field thing. It's just kind of to breathe. This is a huge day for Orioles fans and for the Orioles themselves. I mean, we have talked about it all season long. The rebuild is over. How great it is for Brandon Hyde to be here. How great it is for the young core to get their first taste of playoff experience. For Cedric Mullins, for Austin Hayes, for Anthony Santander, who have been through it all and now they're in the playoffs. Okay, they're here. There's not moral victories anymore today. Once you hit the field, all the moral victory stuff is behind you because you've got an ALDS to go win. And as cool as it is to be here, you're not going to be content with looking back and just going, it was really cool to be there. No, you're the 1 seed in the American League. You won 101 games. How are the Orioles going to be able to control their emotions today? Brandon Hyde, his first playoff game. How is he going to handle that? He's got Freddie Gonzalez with him, who has some really valuable playoff experience. I think Freddie is going to be a huge underrated help today.
Absolutely.
How are guys like Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson going to handle the fact that, okay, they are the young stars on this team. They are 2 young superstars in baseball. This is their first playoff experience. I will say, I do think it helps that they have had a lot of winning down in the minor leagues. Not to say that this is the same sort of thing. We know Gunnar Henderson, I think, was in the playoffs with Bowie when he first got there. This is a different animal.
It's not the same as the minor league playoffs.
It's not. They did win a lot of games in the minor leagues. That's great. This is a different beast.
Yes.
So how are the Orioles today going to be able to take all of that, be able to go, okay, it's awesome that we won 101 games. It is a great story that we're here. The rebuild is done. They've got to go out and win a game.